Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a screencast-o-matic presentation and recording for the part of the lesson that has looking at the Gunpowder Empires of the Middle East. Before we get started, please let me encourage you to open up to today's lesson and to scroll down to the correct section. And remember, your task here is to answer any key concept questions that appear while also filling in the blanks for content that is conveyed throughout the presentation. Please be advised that for this particular presentation, it'll be broken up into 3 different sections. So when one section is finished, please just proceed to the next video screencast and proceed from there. Let's go ahead and get started. The Gunpowder Empires of the Middle East. So what exactly does this title mean? Consider this question first. What were the achievements of the Gunpowder Empires of the Ottomans, Safavids, and Mughals in the Middle East? So gunpowder, of course, and the use of guns is a game changer for world history and civilization for many obvious reasons. But for this part of world history, we're going to be looking at the different types of cultures and peoples that combine to form a big part of the story of the Middle East. From 1300 to 1700, 3 gunpowder empires emerged and dominated parts of Europe, Africa, and Asia. By looking at this map here, you can clearly see the influence and control of these 3 different empires. Please keep in mind, though, a common theme throughout world history and world cultures is that as empires come and go, one thing remains constant: similar themes of civilization. And all 3 of these empires do, to an extent, embody different themes that we talked about so far in this class. The Ottoman Empire of Turkey, the Safavid Empire of Iran, and the Mughal Empire of India, all 3 combine to form a big part of the story of the Middle East. These 3 empires were unique but shared some similarities. And these similarities, of course, helped bring them together at many times and also, of course, caused common enemies. Now, all 3 empires were able to conquer neighboring people by forming strong armies that used rifles and artillery, and this gave them the nickname the Gunpowder Empires, like I alluded to at the beginning of this presentation. The usage of rifles and artillery, of course, is a game changer for world history, not just because of war and combat, but because of defense as well. As you can see here, obviously, early forms of artillery and gun warfare look drastically different than what we can imagine today. Now, one thing that people remember about Middle Eastern culture is that these 3 empires blended their own cultural aspects with neighboring societies to create a high point of Islamic culture. We call this cultural diffusion, when certain parts of the world copy-paste different parts of other parts of the world and make it their own. All 3 empires were Islamic and ruled by Muslim leaders with well-organized governments made up of loyal bureaucrats. If you remember from civics and government, bureaucrats or bureaucracies are established governmental organizations that oversee the administration of laws in a particular society or country. First, let's go ahead and talk about the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire is, of course, what many people associate with Turkey or the Turks. However, upon closer examination here, their story is a little bit more complex than what one might think. Around 1300, the Muslim Turks of Anatolia were unified and formed the Ottoman Empire. The name came from an early leader named Osman. As seen here by this map, the Ottoman Empire, of course, controlled more than just Turkey. It controlled also other parts of Europe, other parts of Asia as well. The Ottomans used muskets and cannons to form a powerful army and expand their territory. And this, of course, was a game changer for them in warfare. Here's a depiction of what the early cannons might have looked like. As you can see, drastically different than some of the cannons that you might have learned about in American Cultures 1 and or 2, when we talk about American history. And of course, the Ottoman armies included 30,000 elite soldiers called janissaries. These fierce soldier slaves were trained to be completely loyal to their Ottoman Turk rulers, and in many ways, great histories and accounts depict just how immensely powerful these forces were. Janissaries were usually Bosnian, Bulgarian, Greek, Serbian, or Albanian by blood, and Christian by religion. They were taken from their homes at an early age and forced to convert to Islam and trained to be soldiers. As you guys are aware from already learning about the 3 worldly religions of the Middle East, conversion can be a powerful tool. It not only keeps people loyal, but sometimes it combines them together into a common consensus culture. The Byzantine Empire, which you learned about in the previous lesson, had been around since the fall of the old Roman Empire in the late 400s. Byzantine territory increased and decreased over the years, and depending on the outcomes of its wars with neighboring peoples such as the Seljuk Turks, different types of cultural influences would reign supreme. As you can see here by this map, It wouldn't be soon before too long until different cultural forces would have their say and sway in different pockets of and around the Mediterranean. By the 1400s, Byzantine territory was chiseled away to almost nothing, except for its capital city of Constantinople. As you guys are aware, Constantinople is a really important city because some view it as the gateway where West meets East, in terms of connecting, of course, the Middle East and Asia to Europe. The Byzantine Empire ends and the Ottoman Empire officially begins with this takeover. Constantinople finally fell to the Turks in 1453, and this was an important event in world history because it changed hands not only in terms of religious influence and governorship and rulership, but also in terms of cultural phenomenon as well. With the fall of Constantinople, the Byzantine Empire was conquered by the Seljuk Turks. And of course, they established their own types of bureaucracies and ways of rulership as well. The Byzantine people, which included Greeks, Syrians, Armenians, Georgians, Jews, Hellenized Asiatic tribes, and others, were made subjects to the new Ottoman Empire, and 1,000 years of Byzantine rule was officially over. As you guys are aware already from world history, from what you've learned so far, when one part of the world takes over another part of the world, exerting their influence has huge ramifications for the people for many, many years to come. By the late 1600s, the Ottomans expanded a great deal, taking over much of the Middle East, some of Northern Africa too, and a large part of Eastern Europe. And that's what I really want you guys to focus on here, not just for this part of the lesson, but also for your map, just the sheer influence of Middle Eastern culture and dominance in the world, not just the Middle East. Ottoman kings and emperors were called sultans, and they governed with absolute power, and they were known to be sometimes rather unforgiving. If you look here at the depictions of some of the most iconic sultans of the Middle East, you can see different types of head garb and different types of ceremonial wear. The greatest Ottoman sultan was Suleiman the Magnificent, who came to power in 1520, and what makes him unique as a person is the fact that by the mid-1500s, Suleiman was the most powerful king in the world, consolidating both a lot of power and prestige in his title and in his office. Different types of people would come to the hands of Suleiman the Magnificent. Under Suleiman, the Ottoman Empire reached its height, expanding deep into Eastern Europe, as you can see here by this map, with the Ottomans conquering Hungary and killing its king. Also, Suleiman's fleet ruled the Mediterranean Sea and controlled other parts of the world too. Controlling the Silk Road and the trade routes that connected Europe and Asia was huge. As you guys are aware, simply by definition, the Middle East being between the Europe and Asia has huge ramifications for the world as well. Suleiman was stopped by the Holy Roman Empire and various German kingdoms from taking over all of Europe after the unsuccessful siege of Vienna in 1529, and this would be the limit of Ottoman Empire and power in Europe. Of course, as you're aware, the same themes of world history and world cultures reign true. Sometimes empires don't last forever, and this creates a power vacuum for other people to come in. However, one thing should be noted here, Suleiman's greatest accomplishment was creating a stable government for the Ottoman Empire. He was known as Suleiman the Lawgiver because he created a law code that governed criminal and civil issues within his empire. As you guys are aware already, that a sign of a successful civilization and empire is the stability of its people and, of course, the implementation of a law or legal system on its people as well. He also created a simplified and fair tax system to raise money for his empire. He granted freedom to worship to Christians and Jews and living in the empire, wisely showing tolerance of his subjects' ways. And this type of tolerance has proven to be helpful in the past, once again breaking a misconception about how people use religion to dominate other people. Sometimes these leaders would be more tolerant than what you might imagine. And of course, Muslim or Ottoman architecture is iconic, as seen here by the Mosque of Suleiman by architect Sinan. Art, poetry, and architecture flourished under Suleiman as the Ottomans experienced a cultural golden age, and this was really important for them. Additionally, to maintain their power against the rivals within their own families, Suleiman and other Ottoman sultans executed and or jailed their sons and brothers, which led to progressively weaker leaders as the most capable sons were eliminated. One of the key themes you'll find in the Middle East is a grasping on for power, and this is really important for people, especially as they seek their own prestige and, I guess you could say, control over peoples. The decline of the Ottoman Empire really starts with it becoming so expansive, but additionally, by the outbreak of World War I in 1914, the Ottoman Empire was so weak that it was known as the sick man of Europe, and it would end in 1922. So to put this into perspective here for you guys, the influence, if you will, the Ottoman Empire can't be overlooked, as of course it did control a huge part of an important part of the world. Please proceed to the next part of the presentation. Thank you.